When the town of Wilton was less than 60 years old in 1885, the guy who was probably the most famous person in America, maybe in the world, the guy who had saved the Union and become a two-term president of this great new country called America, he came here to Mount McGregor because he was dying and he was broke. So Grant worked with Mark Twain, another famous author at that time, to publish his histories of his generalship during the Civil War, because in this way he could overcome poverty and cheat death by actually, after selling 350,000 copies, his wife got the equivalent in today's money of $11 million. So we like to think that Ulysses S. Grant came to Mount McGregor and won his final battle, a final battle over poverty and throat cancer. Ulysses S. Grant was broke because his son got him into a Ponzi scheme, and he lost all his money. Grant Cottage reenactor Steve Trim describes the early process of drafting his memoirs before he came to Wilton.
The beginning, before the cancer really took hold, cancer of the mouth, the throat, the tongue, I could dictate, and I sat and told stories about my family history, the Mexican War, the Civil War, and the stenographer wrote everything down. I just spun the stories and had no particular plan at all. And I think that perhaps to a degree irritated my editor, Mark Twain, because he was an editor. He knew some stories were better than others, so I left it to him to do the editing. I basically threw in everything I could remember.
1885 was a terrible year for the Grant family, and longtime volunteer Steve Trim tells us why Grant came to Mount McGregor to finish his memoirs despite suffering from terminal throat cancer.
My wife and I were living in New York City. That is where I was diagnosed with cancer. By the spring of 1885, as I said, most of the book was done, but not quite. And my doctors believed that if I stayed in the city, there was a heat wave coming, that the conditions would so aggravate my medical condition that I might be pushed right over the edge. So they looked around for a place with fresh, clean, unpolluted air. The theory being if they could relocate me, the new environment would prolong my life and I would have time to finish the book. My friend, Joseph Drexel, owned a cottage on Mount McGregor in the town of Wilton, New York. He offered the cottage to the family and to me for free for as long as we might need it, and that's why we came to Wilton in 1885.